It's not.
Jason Garrett, Football Night in America analyst, and he'll be there for the Cowboys and the Niners. Kickoff 8:20 Eastern on NBC and Peacock. Jason, good to have you back. Let me ask you the poll question. I'll give you Justin Jefferson, or I'm going to give you Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. So you can either take the two Rams wide receivers or Justin Jefferson.
I take Justin Jefferson.
Really?
Yeah, and I absolutely love those other two guys. I mean, I think they're incredible and an amazing combination. But Justin Jefferson, to me, is one of these game-changing cornerstone players that you can build your franchise around for 10 more years. So when you have those guys, you keep them and you fill in around them.
Okay, who does he remind you
of? He doesn't remind me of many people. In terms of an impact, it's not quite Randy Moss for me, but it's moving in that direction. You know, what's interesting about him is evaluating him coming out of school. He played in the slot at LSU. And so one of the questions was, hey, okay, why are they playing him in the slot? Why is he inside? Does he not run well enough outside? Is he not athletic enough? Is he one of these savvy guys? And he's all of that stuff, but he's got all the other stuff too. So I just think he's an elite game-changing player.
It feels like there's been this rebirth with Matthew Stafford. After he got to the Rams, won the Super Bowl, I think people realized or maybe re-realized just how good he is or has been. Do you get that feeling that all of a sudden he was like Matthew Stafford with the Lions? Oh, he's good, but the team's not any good. Now all of a sudden you got these young quarterbacks, C.J. Stroud, Caleb Williams. They're talking about looking up to Matthew Stafford. How did that happen?
Well, anybody who's watched football closely for a long time realizes how good this guy has been. And that's easy to say now, but I mean, if you study quarterback play and you study offensive football, what he did for all those years in Detroit was amazing. And you said it was in a rough environment. The team wasn't very good, but if you watched him play, he was really good. And we had a couple experiences playing against him where we're like, damn. I mean, it's Stafford again, just doing some ridiculous thing against us. And he's a rare passer of the football. I'm actually working on a project with NFL Films right now and the evolution of throwing and how it's changed since Joe Namath to today. And we've studied a lot of different guys and talked to a lot of different guys. And one of the questions that's come out of it is, okay, is there an ideal throwing motion? And so we've asked a lot of people that. We've studied different guys to say, who's got the best throwing motion? And in the midst of doing this, I went to a Rams practice in the spring, one of their OTAs. I'm standing on the sidelines. I'm like, lightning bolt. I think it might be Matthew Stafford. I mean, he's just ridiculous how talented he is throwing it. But like with a lot of guys, what separates him from me is the intangibles. His toughness is rare.
But let me go back to the form, the actual, not the quarterback himself, but just the art of throwing a football. You're saying Matthew Stafford is going to be high up on that list?
Way high up on that list.
Okay, who else would be up there that might surprise me?
Over time?
Like Warren Moon, to me, threw the prettiest deep ball that I ever saw.
Yeah, we used to be in warm-ups, and Warren Moon would be throwing pat and go. Would be like, I don't know that anybody throws it better than that guy.
So you're watching warm-ups of Warren Moon while you're facing him.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I've been studying this and talking about it my whole life. The guy that I play with for 8 years in Dallas, to me, is one of the most underappreciated passers of all time, and that's Troy Aikman. I mean, he was just rare throwing the ball. And he doesn't have the gaudy statistics because of how we played, but he was incredible. Anybody who watched him closely day after day, he just could throw any ball, and he was so consistent and accurate, catchable balls, unbelievable. Marino, Elway, the obvious ones. Those guys were just different than everybody else.
But is there a quarterback, though, who wasn't good but had an unbelievable throwing motion?
Oh, there are tons of those guys.
Like Jeff George. Jeff George he could throw a beautiful deep ball.
Jeff George could throw a beautiful any ball. I mean, he was a rare passer. Unfortunately, he wasn't as good a quarterback as he was a passer. Those other guys that I'm talking about, Elway, Marino, they had everything, And then they had this eliteness about them when they throw the ball. And, Brett Favre, incredible. Like I said, Troy Aikman from that era. The guys playing now, I mean, the way Stafford throws the ball, the way Josh Allen throws the ball, it's pretty special. It's been interesting, this study that we've done, and we've talked to a lot of people, Tom House being one of them. And sometimes you get caught up in the rareness of how hard they throw it and how far they throw it and all of that. And he kept coming back to guys, both in baseball and football, that had great control too. And I asked him, who's got the ideal pitching motion? He spent his whole life studying pitchers. And he said, it's Greg Maddux. And I said, really? I was shocked by that, because Maddux doesn't strike you as a guy who's got this overwhelming physical tools. But he said he just was incredible with how he could locate the ball on a consistent basis. And he actually compared Maddux to Drew Brees, very similar players in how they throw the ball.
Well, I was going to say Joe Montana would have been my comp for Greg Maddux.
I think that's a great comp. You can't go wrong there. But Montana kind of in that same category of a guy that doesn't overwhelm you physically, but the precision and the consistency is incredible. But it's been a really fun project, and I bring it up just to say Stafford's high on that list.
He's Jason Garrett, and Football Night in America brings you the Cowboys and the Niners. All right, you were in this position. I know you hate being put back in this position, but I'm going to put you there. Jerry Jones comes out, and he's critical of the play calling by Mike McCarthy. How does that help the process? Or you have to go to a press conference and then answer for Jerry Jones. How difficult is that for Mike? How difficult was that for you when you were there in Dallas?
Well, as Troy Aikman used to say, some things come with the dinner. And so that comes with the dinner. And the media types, they love the idea of, hey, the owner said this. What do you say?
Yes.
They love that wedge thing. And my approach was always, you just try to stay above it. You don't dive into the fray too much. Everybody wants authenticity from head coaches. They want them to say what they want to say. But that's not your job. Your job is to protect the team and protect the organization first and foremost. So you try not to delve into that too much. It obviously is not the ideal situation. You want everybody to be aligned. There's enough noise in the world anyway. You don't want to contribute to it. So as much as what I tried to do is not inflame it, just try to pat it down and get everybody thinking about something differently.
How could Derrick Henry win the MVP?
Just keep handing him the ball. He's ridiculous, isn't he?
His fourth quarter stats, like you can tell where the defense gets tired. You don't want to take him on. And all it takes is just because he doesn't have moves. He's kind of like Herschel Walker. Hirsch didn't have that shiftiness, but if he had a moment, he was gone. And here's Derrick Henry doing that. It feels like it's still, and I don't know, are we going to be committed to the run this season in the NFL? Like league-wide, do you feel like there's more of a commitment there? And then you're factoring in these quarterbacks who are running as well?
Well, I think if you look at the best offenses through time, they're balanced and they run the ball. And I talk about this every week on Sunday Night Football. The quarterbacks that have too much of a burden on them ultimately fail because the league is too hard. The defenses are too good. So if you drop back 50 times, you're going to lose. Yeah. You might win this week, but you're going to lose. And so you have to control the line of scrimmage, being able to run the football, play action pass, all of that. That's when you have success and you can sustain that success. So having a commitment to it is big. And I laugh at the devaluation of running backs. And I'm this is a sensitive topic for me because I played in Dallas for 8 years and we had Emmitt Smith. We won 3 Super Bowls. The impact of Emmitt Smith and the offensive line and the running game pervaded the whole team, the quarterback, the receivers, the defense. Everybody fed off of that. We're a physical team that controlled the game. And then our best years in Dallas when I was the coach, DeMarco Murray led the league in rushing. Zeke Elliott led the league in rushing twice. And all of a sudden, it's ironic that Tony Romo and Dak Prescott had their best years when we were doing that. So it just creates a comfortable environment for the quarterback and for everybody else on the team. And so if you can play that way, you're going to have sustained success. And the best teams do that. When the Rams are rolling, they're running it and throwing it. 49ers running it and throwing it. Vikings running it and throwing it. And certainly the Ravens might be the best example of that this year. So keep giving the big guy the ball.
Yeah, I'm all in on running. And I wondered if we would see, because, these defensive players, they're trying to get, smaller and quicker guys on defense now. I just think if I'm going to make you adjust to me, we're going to run the ball. You might be ready for everybody else in the NFL and, who you're going to face. With us, you got to deal with our line, and we're going to run the football. And I would have an advantage at least half of the games where you had to adapt to me. I don't know why somebody just doesn't go all in and say, we're going to run the football, and then we're going to pass the football, not the other way around.
Well, it's interesting you say that. If you go back to Dallas's game a couple of weeks ago against Detroit runs the ball 8 of the first 10 snaps of the game. Detroit's built their team the right way. They got great offensive linemen. They got 2 big-time runners, and that's where it starts. So everybody talks about Ben Johnson, boy, the trick play, the this, the that, the other thing. What they did early in the game was, Cowboys, let's get ready, defend the run. We're going to hit you right in the mouth, and we're going to make you defend this run. And then everything else came from that. They controlled the line of scrimmage. Now the drop back game comes alive, the play action game, the specials, all of that. So you're preaching to the choir right now. I mean, you got the incense out and you're throwing it on me because, this is what I believe in. That's how we built our teams in Dallas. Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, Travis Frederick, Zeke Elliott. That's how we wanted to play.
If you were coaching the Dolphins, how would you handle the Tua situation?
Hard for me to answer that from afar. I'm not there with him every day, so I got to be careful with this response. But err on the side of really, really having caution about him as a person. Ultimately, when you're coaching players, and I use this word very deliberately, you love the guys. You ask them a lot, and you develop a relationship with them that's so strong that you love them and you care about them first and foremost. And so that has to be line one with him. Like, Tua, we care about you for the rest of your life. So we better really all be on board on the medical evaluation here before we put you back out there.
But let's say he's cleared, though, Jason. Let's say he's cleared.
Again,
but do you change your pass protection? Are you changing your play calling because of his potential condition?
Well, let me just finish what I said. I got it. He's cleared. But let's ask that question again and again and again and again before he goes back out there. And if we're all okay with it, family members, medical people, Tua himself, the whole deal. Okay, now we go do it. And I do think you're extra careful and extra deliberate in how you call the game.
Wow.
And you coach the heck out of them, like I know they have, on what you do when the play breaks down and getting down. And we're not diving for first downs. We're not doing any of that. But you get the ball out of your hand quickly. They do that. When you throw it down the field more, you better have extra protectors, because that's first and foremost with any quarterback, but particularly in this situation.
Are the Niners still a contender, Super Bowl contender?
Absolutely.
Even with all the injuries?
Yeah, the season's young. There's a lot of football to be played. There's narratives that come out every Monday about what's going to happen the rest of the year based on what happened yesterday. But I have a lot of faith in their coaches, a lot of faith in their players. Obviously, they're banged up. The receiver situation is real, but they're going to get some guys back, and they're good enough to adjust to the guys that they do have. The thing for me with them that has always been so damn impressive the last few years, I feel like their defense was elite in how it disrupted the game and controlled the game. You couldn't make an inch against them. And you wanted to throw, if you were hesitant at all, the ball's going to get knocked out of your hand. And, oh, by the way, 54 is going to intercept another one. and all of that. I don't feel like they're quite there right now. And I think for me with them, they have to get themselves back to that place. Those elite players have to be elite and extra elite to deal with some of the issues that they have on the other side of the ball. But I have a lot of faith in their team and their coaches, and there's a lot of football to be played.
We'll be watching on Sunday night. Great to talk to you. My best to the family. Thank you, Jace.
I always enjoy it.
That's Jason Garrett, Football Night in America. They started 7 Eastern. And then Football Night in America at 8:20 kickoff with the Cowboys and the 49ers.